did you see what happened in London this weekend? Hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters took over central London. It was the largest rally calling for a ceasefire in Gaza in the UK since the Israel-Hamas war began. But that was not all that protesters wanted. Some called it a hate march against Suella Braverman. We now know how that ended. Braverman is out. In our next report, we show you more. Take a look.
I'm here because of the appalling state of affairs in Palestine and the genocide of the Palestinian people by the Israeli government.
What's happening in Gaza is absolutely shocking and it needs to stop. You know, it's terrible.
I'm here because Israel has recently, last night, 24 hours, bombarded Al-Shifa hospital.
This was London this weekend. A sea of people took over the heart of the city. They say they want an end to the war in Gaza. UK's biggest pro-Palestinian march saw some 300,000 people take to the streets. But it was the date on which they chose to protest which got the British government worried. Saturday's rally coincided with Armistice Day, an annual commemoration of the end of World War I. Prime Minister Sunak wasn't too happy with the protesters. He asked them to postpone it, but organizers of the march thought Armistice Day was the perfect opportunity to demand a complete ceasefire in Gaza. But this protest quickly became a nightmare for London authorities. 7 men have been charged with disorder on Armistice Day for offences including inciting racial hatred. London's Met Police says of the 145 arrested, a vast majority were counter-protesters. The now sacked Home Secretary Braverman was branded the most hated woman in British politics. She said the police was too lenient with the pro-Palestinian marchers. Protests continued across the world. This is Boston, Massachusetts. This weekend, thousands of pro-Palestinians marched calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. They weren't too happy with their president, Joe Biden.
I think it hurts. It's a little hypocritical what America is doing to the Palestinians every day. And as someone who lives here and knowing my tax money is going to fund this apartheid, it's just so unfair and unjust. And I just have to go out and speak about this, because if I'm going to sit here all day long and do nothing about it, the genocide is going to continue to happen and it'll never stop.
This is Frankfurt, Germany. Around 1,000 pro-Palestinians gathered at the central Roemenberg Square.
So we are here today to support the Palestinians. We are, of course, against the killing of civilians and children and the bombing of the hospitals. We see no excuse for doing this, and that's why we are here to show our solidarity for the Palestinians.
Pro-Israel protesters took to the streets in Sydney. They demanded that all hostages captured by Hamas be released immediately. Meanwhile, hundreds of Pakistanis marched through the streets of Islamabad. Pakistan expressed solidarity with those suffering in Gaza. This war is one of the most polarizing ones in history. Those are marching for a side feel very passionately for the same, even if they don't know the history between the two sides.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.